there, my crafty friends. We are going to make a very fun card today. We are going to modify it a little bit from my original design. When I made this design, these framelits were back in the clearance rack, so let's change it up a bit. So the Tea Together stamp set is in the Occasions catalog. Near the end, I know I wouldn't flip right to it. It is such a pretty set, and well, I love tea and I love this set. I wanted to make it so it was a little less frumpy, so to speak, and pop some fun and inject my style into it. So here is one of those cards. So we are using this stamp set, and the framelits are part of my catalog, came upside down. Are part of Celebration. So if you spend $120 before taxes and shipping, you get this wonderful set of framelits. And this was one of the first things I ordered, was this stamp set and the coordinating framelits. And if you look at this card right here, we're doing a take on that. So let's set those aside and get our craft on. So we were going to start with an A2 size card. So you take a piece of 8.5 by 11 Whisper White thick cardstock, score it at 4 1/4, and cut it at 5 1/2. We need a mat, and I'm just going to grab my scraps. So I've already chosen my color scheme for this. We are going to use some of the DSP from the Frosted Floral Suite. And I thought these were super fun. So we will pick something that coordinates a little bit with that. Now, if this is your first time watching one of my videos, when I get a stamp set that has thinlits and DSP, this is how I prepare my case. So I put a sheet of magnetic sheet in there and put my coordinating thinlits in there. And I also, in Photoshop, create a little color swatch so that I know all the colors in the DSP without having to go to the catalog. So this is by far one of the biggest sets. Let's maybe go with, I don't want it to take away from the card, so I'm thinking one of the lighter colors, Soft Seafoam, Powder Pink, Blushing Bride, maybe Mint Macaron. So this is how I store my scraps. I've got my mats in the front, and then ready-made card bases in the back. So anytime I cut a sheet of cardstock, I immediately cut at least one card base and 2 card mats, and then I store them in order so that I'm not having to cut up a sheet every time I want to make a card. So let's get on with this. Now, if you look at my sample, I used the tufted embossing folder, and I think we're going to do that again. Our thin die adapter, our base plate. We're going to set this off to the side, and this is the largest stitched oval. Okay, so this is back. We've just got our top plate and our embossing folder. And voila, and it pretty much covers the indent that you get from using the thinlit, and we are ready to roll. So we are going to be stamping right on our card base, so we will not attach that mat yet, and we are going to use a sentiment from Part of My Story. Know that today a friend is thinking of you, and when we do this, we are going to use marker, Stampin' Write marker, right on our marker ink to stamp technique. Blech. Okay, so thinking back to the colors that were in that suite, we had Blackberry Bliss, so I'm going to grab that. We had the Mint Macaron, but we've got that on our mat, so I don't want to use that. What other color do we have in here that might look nice? Let's try the Blushing Bride as our pink. So those two should look nice. And then we'll just use the basic gray instead of black. Black would be a little too harsh against all of these lighter colors. Sorry, I can't talk while I'm concentrating. So you do want to work quickly on this because you don't want your basic gray ink to dry, but I will show you a little trick to reactivate it. So this is a great way to get multiple colors without having to mask and using the Stamparatus. So basically you're just gonna huff on this and it will reactivate those inks. Now had I been smart, I would have put my mat down to see where it needed to be, but it worked out pretty darn good. So this way you can use any number of inks to get the look that you're going for. It would have been fine in any one color, but it looks pretty darn cute like this, if I do say so myself. So we will set that aside to dry. I wanted to get that part done because I have a tendency to attach my mat to my card base and then realize, oh, I needed to do some stamping. So now we would be safe to adhere this. So why don't we go ahead and do that? And then we can start working on our teacups. Not perfectly straight, but that's okay. So now what I do is I have a number of stamps just in my shelving over here. So what I do is I either put this under something heavy or in between something that will force them together. So by the time we're ready to use that, it will be fully adhered and flat. Okay, now on to the stamping. And we are going to use Memento on this. I would like to use StazOn, but I do not have StazOn cleaner, and I don't like what it does to my stamps without that cleaner. So we will use Memento, and we will heat set it so that it doesn't run. So these are the new cling stamps if you haven't yet seen them. There is a little piece that goes in the middle of that, but I have taken it out and now it's stuck to my stamp case. So those cling stamps are very sticky. So you could use this for something else, but I have chosen, it was already perforated, so I've just pulled it out. Okay, let's ink it up. You could skip this part, although I'm not sure how you would get a good image of the teacup so that you would know where to write. This little window does give you a good idea of what you're going to get on your teacup. So let's just do it over here. This one is the same repeating pattern all over, so it really doesn't matter where it is. I just don't want to use it in the middle of my paper and waste all of that. Let's do one on white. Now I find my Memento pad is quite juicy, so it doesn't matter what kind of paper I'm stamping on. I am finding that I have to heat set it or it's smearing. So we will use our heat tool on low setting just to get all of this to dry quicker. We are ready to die cut. So our teacup die is already ready. We bring the big shot back into the shot. So when I am die cutting, I like to use some washi tape to keep it from moving on me. I also have Post-it tape that does the job. This is easier to do when you don't have a camera in your way. And because these papers are all so thin, I could probably do all three at the same time, but I'm not going to. Build our teacups, and because I cut this one just a little bit short, I almost started cutting at that line. We'll make sure that one is the top. So we'll have them stacked like this. So just take out a little X-Acto knife or cutting surface, and we need to cut into these two mugs. So what I do, I have one of those slice knives, and I just cut along the top line of that cup. And because this one's so dark, it really, you can't see it at all. This one, you need to be a little bit more careful. And of course, I went below the line there. Now the other thing is, you can see that I did some shading on that. So I will take my light pool party and go close to the line, but not quite on it, just so that I'm not gonna smear, because this is still running just a little bit. It's just to give it a little bit more interest anyways. It doesn't have to be perfect. So this is our bottom mug. This is our middle, and I like to line them up, position them before I put any adhesive on. And there we go. So all we're going to do is take our Tombow, put a little bit on the front and the back, place that back into that hole, just hold it down. I missed the spot where I need to put it on the back. There we go. Hold that down for a couple seconds. Get your adhesive on this one. Now remember, I cut that part a little wonky, so I want to hide that piece. Let's tilt it the other way. And now we're just going to attach it. So see, my mat is nice and flat. And let's just put a very light coating of Tombow on our teacups. If you wanted this to be just a little bit stronger, you could attach them to some cardstock and cut that out. I'm not that concerned. Making sure that bottom one is straight. I mean, you've got a topsy-turvy stack of cups, but you don't want the bottom one to not be straight. And that's it. Isn't it beautiful? I mean, it looked like it was a lot of work, but once you get going and you get that fussy cutting all done, it's pretty simple. So there we go. 2 little wonky stacks of teacups. So I hope that I have given you some ideas on how to use this stamp set, this bundle. If it's not one that you had considered, I hope I've swayed you just a little bit. And if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and consider hitting that subscribe button below so that you can see a new video each and every week. Thank you for joining me, friends. Bye.